I became pregnant in 10th grade. My parents disowned me and threw me out of the house. 20 years later, they turned up demanding to see their grandson. But what they saw left them stunned. They called me a disgrace and tossed me out like trash, 17 and pregnant. 20 years later, those same parents stood in a gleaming hospital lobby, demanding to meet their grandson, the chief of cardiac surgery they'd seen on the news. They had no idea the woman who saved me had already written their ending. The air in Midtown General Hospital was usually hushed, respectful. But today, the marble echoed with my mother's shrill demands, her designer bag clutched like a shield, my father impatiently checking his luxury watch. They were dressed for battle, ready to claim a legacy they'd long disowned. It started back in October 2004. I stood in my parents' grand living room, the one with imported Italian marble and a chandelier worth a small fortune, clutching a positive pregnancy test. "You're lying," my mother, Susan, hissed, her voice cutting through the silence. No daughter of ours would be so common. But 2 more tests, positive, sealed my fate. My father, David, didn't yell. That would be beneath him. Instead, he walked to my room, retrieved the suitcase they'd bought for my supposed college tours, and placed it by the front door with chilling precision. 10 minutes, he said, adjusting his Columbia-class ring. Take what fits. Leave your keys. I pleaded, "Dad, please." But he just flipped our family portrait face down, the one with the fake smiles and matching white shirts. "You're not our daughter anymore. Our daughter wouldn't spread her legs for some boy and destroy everything we've built." My mother stood by the grandfather clock, admiring her manicure. "Don't call us. Don't come back. We'll tell everyone you're studying abroad." Noah, the boy who'd promised me forever, had already ghosted me. Accepted to Yale, his parents had lawyers, his future was more important. He'd blocked my number the day I told him. 10 minutes. That's all the time they gave me to pack 17 years of my life. I grabbed clothes, my grandmother's necklace they'd forgotten, and the $227 from my jewelry box. The lock clicked behind me like a judge's gavel, final, irreversible. That night, I slept in Greenwich Park under the gazebo where Noah first kissed me. 3 nights later, someone gently shook my shoulder. Not a cop, not a creep. An older woman in her 70s, wearing cashmere and genuine concern. "Child, you're going to freeze out here." Eleanor Vance had been walking her ancient poodle, Gus, at dawn, a routine since her husband died. She saw me curled on that bench, my suitcase a pillow, and something in her broke. Or maybe, something healed. "I'm fine," I lied, my teeth chattering. "No, you're not," she said, studying my face, then my belly. Even at barely 2 months, she knew. When I finally started crying, really crying, not the silent tears I'd rationed for 3 days, she sat right there on that cold bench and held me like I mattered. "Come," she said finally. "Gus and I need company for breakfast." Her car smelled like lavender and leather. The heated seats felt like heaven. She drove us to her Upper East Side home, sprawling across a huge lot. 8 bedrooms for 1 widow and 1 geriatric poodle, she chuckled. "I lost my daughter, Violet, 5 years ago. Car accident. She was pregnant, too." The room she showed me had already been prepared. Not for me, specifically, but for someone. A crib sat assembled in the corner. The closet held maternity clothes with tags still on. "This is yours now," she said. "No questions, no conditions. Everyone deserves a second chance." "Why?" I whispered. She touched a photo on the dresser, a young woman with Eleanor's eyes. "Because Violet would have wanted me to." That night, I slept in a bed for the first time in 72 hours. Gus curled up at my feet like a guardian. Eleanor didn't just give me shelter, she gave me a future. While my parents told their country club friends I was studying in Switzerland, I was learning to breathe again in a nursery decorated with stars. Caleb arrived during a February blizzard, screaming and perfect. Eleanor held my hand through 18 hours of labor, whispering strength when I had none. She cut the cord when I asked. She was the first to hold him after me. He's brilliant, she declared, though he was only minutes old. I can see it in his eyes. She wasn't wrong. Caleb walked at 9 months, read at 3, and tested into gifted programs before kindergarten. While I took night classes for my GED, then community college courses online, he absorbed knowledge like other kids absorbed cartoons. Eleanor owned 3 restaurants, the Maxwell downtown, the Bistro on Main, and the Campus Cafe. She started me as a hostess, then taught me inventory, scheduling, profit margins. You're not just working here, she'd say. You're learning to run an empire. When Caleb was 7, he performed surgery on his teddy bear with actual sutures he'd learned from YouTube. At 10, he was reading my anatomy textbooks. At 16, Johns Hopkins Medical School accepted him early admission. That same year, Marcus Thorne walked into the Maxwell, updating Eleanor's will. She'd added new provisions every year since taking us in. Tall, steady, with kind eyes and terrible jokes, he made me laugh for the first time in years. Your son's remarkable, he said over coffee that turned into dinner. His grandmother deserves the credit. I wasn't talking about Eleanor, he smiled. Though she mentioned something interesting about her will. Something about protecting the family you choose. Even then, Eleanor was planning ahead. Everything changed when the Metro Herald ran the headline, 20-year-old surgeon becomes youngest department chief in state history. Caleb's photo covered half the front page, in surgical scrubs, standing before the cardiac wing he'd already revolutionized. The article mentioned his full name, Dr. Caleb Miller, MD, PhD, my maiden name. The name my parents thought they'd buried. Within hours, the story went viral. Prodigy doctor saves 3 lives in one day, Gen Z surgeon revolutionizes heart surgery. My phone buzzed with an unknown number. I almost didn't check the voicemail. Chloe, my mother's voice after 2 decades of silence. We need to discuss our grandson. Our grandson? Not your son? Not Caleb. Our grandson? Like he was property they'd suddenly remembered they'd misplaced. The email started next, sent to my restaurant's public address. Professional, cold, Dear Chloe, we hope this message finds you well. Recent news has come to our attention regarding Caleb's remarkable achievements. As his grandparents, we feel it's time to reconnect. They signed it from their corporate email, Miller Industries, the company they protected by discarding me. Marcus found me crying in my office, not from sadness, but from rage. They want him now that he's successful, I said. 20 years of nothing, and now they want to claim him. What do you want to do? He asked. Make them disappear again. He pulled me close. We can do that. But first, let me check something in Eleanor's papers. She mentioned provisions for this exact situation. That night, Caleb worked a 16-hour shift, saving 2 lives. He had no idea his grandparents existed, let alone that they were circling like vultures who'd spotted gold. They started small, a reservation at the Maxwell under a fake name, sitting in my section, watching me work. I recognized my mother's emerald ring before her face. She'd aged poorly. Botox fighting a losing battle with bitterness. Good evening, I'm Chloe, we know who you are, my father said, setting down his menu like a verdict. We need to discuss Caleb. You need to leave. They didn't. Instead, packages arrived at the hospital, a luxury watch for Caleb, a high-end pen set, a first-edition medical textbook worth thousands. Each gift card signed, Your loving grandparents. Caleb brought them home, confused. Mom, someone keeps sending me expensive things. Should I be worried? Return them, I said. All of them. Marcus intercepted their next move, a formal letter requesting grandparent visitation rights. He actually laughed as he read it to me. They cite established family bonds, he said. Bonds they severed with this. He pulled out a photocopy of the document they'd signed 20 years ago, relinquishing all parental rights and responsibilities. They didn't just kick you out, Chloe. They legally disowned you and any children you might have. But they kept pushing. They hired a private investigator who followed Caleb's routine. They contacted the hospital board, introducing themselves as Dr. Miller's grandparents, trying to get invited to fundraisers. The final straw came when my mother approached Caleb directly at a coffee shop near the hospital. "You look just like your grandfather," she said, blocking his path. "I'm sorry, do I know you?" "I'm your grandmother, sweetheart. Your mother has kept us apart." Caleb called me immediately. "Mom, some woman claiming to be my grandmother just ambushed me. Should I call security?" "Yes," I said, always. The call came at 2 a.m. because Noah always had terrible timing. "It's me. Please don't hang up." 20 years, and he still thought "it's me" would mean something. "What do you want, Noah?" I saw the news about Caleb. "He's incredible. Our son." Now he was our son. When I was 17 and terrified, Caleb was my problem. Now that he was saving lives and making headlines, Noah remembered his DNA contribution. "He doesn't know you exist," I said. "Let's keep it that way." "That's not fair." I was 18. My parents threatened to what? Disown you? Kick you out? Make you sleep in parks while pregnant? Silence. That's what I thought. I'm divorced now. My startup failed. I've lost everything. His voice cracked. I just want to know him. He's my blood. Blood. He blocked my number when I needed him most. Your parents contacted me, he admitted. They think if I'm involved, you'll be more receptive to reconciliation. They're offering to help me financially if I can convince you. I hung up. Then I called Marcus. They're coordinating, I told him. My parents and Noah, they're actually planning this together. Good, he said, which surprised me. Conspiracy leaves evidence. Forward me everything. Calls, emails, texts. Eleanor was very specific about documentation. The next morning, Noah sent a long email about his father's rights. He CC'd my parents. At the bottom, almost hidden in the signature, was the line that confirmed everything: consultant, Miller Industries Family Relations. They'd actually hired him. My parents hired the man who abandoned me to manipulate me into letting them near Caleb. Eleanor had been right about everything. Family isn't blood. It's choice. And some choices, once made, can't be undone. Tuesday, 3 p.m. Caleb was 8 hours into a complex pediatric heart surgery when my parents walked into Midtown General's VIP lobby. "We're here to see our grandson, Dr. Miller," my mother announced, loud enough for everyone to hear. "We're his grandparents, the Millers of Miller Industries." The receptionist called security instead of Caleb. But my parents had come prepared. "This is ridiculous," my father boomed, his voice echoing off the marble. "We donate millions to this hospital. Our grandson is chief of surgery. We demand to see him." Visitors stopped to stare. Doctors whispered. Someone started recording on their phone. My mother, ever the performer, pulled out a monogrammed handkerchief. 20 years we've been kept from him, she wailed. We just want to meet our only grandchild. Security arrived as Marcus and I did. "Ma'am, sir, Dr. Miller is in surgery." "Then we'll wait," my father declared, planting himself on a leather bench like he owned it, which, given the Miller Industries plaques on the walls, he probably thought he did. The head of security looked at me. "Mrs. Thorne, how would you like us to handle this?" My mother's tears stopped instantly. "Thorne? You remarried. You gave our grandson another man's name. He never had your name, I said quietly. You made sure of that when you signed him away. The gathering crowd murmured. My father's face went purple. How dare you? The doors opened. Caleb emerged, still in surgical scrubs, the baby he just saved being wheeled to recovery. He looked at the scene, security, strangers with phones out, two well-dressed elderly people causing chaos. Then at me. Are these the people who've been stalking me? Yes, I said. Then I want them removed. He didn't even look at them. Now, my parents didn't leave. Instead, they called News Channel 12 from the hospital parking lot. Within an hour, news vans surrounded the main entrance. My mother had changed into a designer suit. She brought costume changes for her ambush. My father stood beside her, the grieving grandfather in his Columbia tie. We're heartbroken, my mother told reporter Sarah Kim. 20 years ago, there was a misunderstanding. We were in shock about our teenage daughter's pregnancy. We reacted poorly, but we've been trying to reconnect, to make amends, and we're being denied access to our only grandchild. She dabbed her eyes with that same monogrammed handkerchief, careful not to smudge her makeup. Dr. Miller is a medical pioneer, the reporter prompted. You must be proud. Incredibly proud, my father said, though he'd never seen Caleb save a life, hold a patient's hand, or stay awake 30 hours to perfect a procedure. The Miller family has always valued excellence. It's in his blood. In his blood. The blood they'd rejected when it was growing inside me. What would you say to your daughter now? Sarah asked. My mother looked directly at the camera. Chloe, sweetheart, we forgive you. We just want our family back together. Please don't punish Caleb for our mistakes. They forgive me. The segment aired at 6. By 7, it had 50,000 views on their social media page, the one my mother ran like a lifestyle blog. Comments poured in, family is everything, let them see their grandson, why so cruel, Chloe? Marcus shut his laptop. They just made a critical error. Going public? I asked. No. Claiming they forgive you. That's an admission of wrongdoing. And we have the documents that show exactly what they did wrong. The hospital's chief administrator, Dr. Hayes, called me in for a friendly chat the next morning. Chloe, this situation is becoming complicated, he said, fidgeting with his expensive pen. The Millers have donated $12 million over the years. The board is concerned. Concerned about what? The optics. Perhaps one supervised meeting would resolve everything. Would you meet with people who threw you away like garbage? He shifted uncomfortably. It's not my decision to make, but Caleb's position. Are you threatening my son's job? No. Just considering all angles. At the Maxwell, customers suddenly had opinions. Family is complicated, one regular told me while I refilled her wine. But forgiveness is divine, don't you think? Even my staff whispered when they thought I couldn't hear. 20 years is a long time to hold a grudge. A grudge. Like being disowned while pregnant was equivalent to a forgotten birthday. Caleb came home exhausted, dark circles under his eyes. Mom, I had 3 surgeries delayed today because reporters kept trying to get into the ER wing. I'm sorry, baby. I'll fix this. It's not your fault, he collapsed on the couch. But maybe if we just met with them once? No, I could tell them to leave us alone in person. Caleb, they signed papers stating you don't exist to them legally. He was quiet for a moment. Can I see these papers? Marcus had been waiting for this. He pulled out the folder he'd been carrying for days. This is what they signed, Marcus said, the day they kicked your mother out. Caleb read slowly, his surgeon's hands steady despite the words. October 15, 2004, he read aloud. We, David and Susan Miller, hereby relinquish all parental rights and responsibilities to Chloe Miller and any children born or unborn. His voice stayed clinical, like he was reading a patient chart. But his knuckles were white. They signed this while you were pregnant with me? Yes. And this line, we acknowledge no financial, emotional, or legal obligations. They wrote that. Their lawyer did. They signed it. He set the paper down carefully, the way he handled scalpel. Tell me everything, Mom. From the beginning. So I did. The 10 minutes, the suitcase, the park bench, Noah vanishing. Everything I'd protected him from for 20 years spilled out in my kitchen while Marcus held my hand. Noah Reed is my biological father? Yes, I said. The tech entrepreneur who just declared bankruptcy. I stared at him. You knew? I'm not stupid, Mom. I can use Google. Noah Reed, Yale graduate, dated Chloe Miller in high school. He pulled out his phone, showing Noah's LinkedIn. He's been viewing my profile weekly for 6 months. My brilliant, brilliant boy. Why didn't you say anything? Because you didn't. I figured when you were ready, you'd tell me. He looked at the papers again. So, Grandma Eleanor was your real grandmother. The only one who wanted you. She left me something, didn't she? In her will. That's why Marcus keeps checking documents. Marcus nodded. She left you everything, with conditions. Your biological grandparents can't touch a penny if they abandoned you. How much? 15 million, plus the restaurants. Caleb laughed. Actually laughed. They're fighting this hard for money they already lost. They don't know they've lost it yet, Marcus said. But they're about to. They chose the Belvedere, the most pretentious restaurant in the city. White tablecloths, waiters who judged your wine pronunciation. Thank you for coming, my mother said, as if she'd won something. My father pushed a leather folder across the table before our water arrived. Let's skip the pleasantries. Inside, a contract. Miller Industries letterhead, corporate seal, the works. 5 million, he said. Placed in trust for Caleb immediately. Another 5 when he joins the board. All we ask is a public reconciliation. A family photo for the announcement. You want to buy us? We want to invest in our legacy, my mother corrected, adjusting her pearls. Caleb is a Miller. He should benefit from that name. The name you took from me. Which we're offering to restore. The IPO launches next month. Miller Industries, 3 generations of excellence tests well with focus groups. Focus groups. They'd focus grouped our reconciliation. And Noah? I asked. My father's jaw tightened. Mr. Reed is a separate matter. Is he? Because he told me you're paying him as a consultant. My mother's mask slipped for a second. That's a misunderstanding. Marcus, quiet until now, spoke. Is it? Because we have emails suggesting otherwise. Something about a finder's fee. You've been monitoring our communications? My father stood. That's illegal. No. Noah forwarded them to Chloe, Marcus said. Actually, he's not very bright. They exchanged a look, the same one they'd shared when deciding my fate 20 years ago. The offer stands, my father said, tossing $300 bills on the table, but not for long. As they left, my mother turned. That boy deserves to know his real family. He does, I said. That's why he'll never know you. Marcus worked late that night, laptop open, documents spread across our dining table like evidence in a crime scene. Chloe, come look at this. The email chain went back 3 months before the first news article about Caleb. My parents had been planning this. From David Miller at millerindustries.com to noahreed24@gmail.com. Subject: Consultation Agreement. Mr. Reed, per our discussion, you'll receive 10% of any assets recovered from the reconciliation with our daughter. Your role: establish paternal connection with CM, leverage for maternal cooperation. They're calling my son assets recovered, I said. Keep reading. Noah's response made me sick, happy to help. Chloe always was emotional. If I push the right buttons about missed father-son moments, she'll cave. Suggest we coordinate pressure, you from grandparent angle, me from father's rights. $500K up front seems reasonable for my involvement. He's selling access to Caleb, I whispered. This email chain is evidence of conspiracy to commit fraud and harassment. But there's more. Marcus pulled up Noah's LinkedIn. 3 days ago, he'd messaged Caleb, "Son, I know your mother has poisoned you against me, but I'm your father. I deserve a chance. Your grandparents agree. We could do great things together." The Miller medical legacy combined with Reed innovation. Think about your future. Caleb didn't tell me because he reported him for harassment. LinkedIn banned him. Marcus smiled. He also sent Noah's bankruptcy filing to the Miller Industries board. Turns out they don't like being associated with failed entrepreneurs who owe the IRS $2 million. They're still paying him? No, the board voted yesterday to terminate all consultant contracts. Your father doesn't know yet. Sometimes karma needs a good lawyer to help it along. Marcus unlocked Eleanor's safe with the combination she'd made me memorize, July 23, 2005, the day Caleb was born. She updated this every year, he said, pulling out a leather-bound document. But this provision never changed. He flipped to page 7, paragraph 4, highlighted in yellow. Should any biological family member who previously abandoned, disowned, or rejected my chosen daughter, Chloe Miller, or her son, Caleb Miller, attempt to claim relationship or assets after achieving success or recognition, they shall be permanently barred from any inheritance, property, or financial benefit from my estate. She knew this would happen. She planned for it. Marcus clicked play on an iPad. Eleanor's face filled the screen, recorded just months before her death. "If you're watching this," Eleanor said, her voice still strong despite the illness. "Then David and Susan Miller have crawled out from whatever rock they've been hiding under. Hello, Mr. and Mrs. Miller. Yes, I know exactly who you are. I hired investigators the day I met Chloe. I know about the 10 minutes, the suitcase, the family portrait you turned face down." My throat tightened. Even dying, she'd protected us. "You threw away a treasure," Eleanor continued. "I found her. She became my daughter in every way that matters. Caleb became my grandson. And you? You're nothing. Ghosts. Signatures on a paper that ensures you'll never hurt them again." Eleanor looked directly at the camera. "Chloe, my darling, they'll come with money and promises. Don't believe them. You have everything. The restaurants, the investments, this house, 15 million, all in your name, protected in trust. They can't touch it. They can't touch you. Be free." The timestamp showed she'd recorded it the day before she died. "This is the beautiful part," Marcus said, pulling out another document. "The original abandonment papers my parents signed. I'd seen copies, but the original felt different, heavier. Their signatures bold and clear, like a business deal. They didn't just kick you out," Marcus explained. "They legally emancipated you and simultaneously relinquished all parental rights. But here's what their lawyer apparently didn't explain. Or maybe they didn't care to understand." He pointed to Clause 6. "This relinquishment extends in perpetuity to any offspring, born or unborn, of the aforementioned minor. In perpetuity. Forever. They can't claim grandparent rights because, legally, Caleb isn't their grandson. They made sure of that 20 years ago. But they're on TV saying they're lying or they never read what they signed. Either way, this document is legally binding and irreversible. They could have contested it within the first year, but after that. He smiled. Ironclad. My father's Columbia law degree, my mother's insistence on reading every contract. They'd known. They'd wanted me gone so completely that they'd signed away their future, too. There's one more thing, Marcus said. If they continue harassment after being shown these documents, we can file for a restraining order. Criminal harassment charges. They could face jail time. They'd never risk that. Their reputation. Exactly. So, we give them one chance to walk away quietly. If they don't take it, we go public with everything. At the gala. At the gala. 500 witnesses, media coverage, everything they care about. Reputation, image, legacy. Destroyed by their own signatures. For the first time in weeks, I smiled. Eleanor really thought of everything. She loved you, Marcus said simply. This was her way of proving it forever. The Midtown General Annual Gala was in 3 days. 500 guests, full media coverage, and Caleb giving the keynote about family, legacy, and healing. We invite them, I said, holding the pearl shimmer invitation. All 3 of them. Marcus raised an eyebrow. You're sure? Eleanor left us the weapons. Time to use them. I wrote each invitation by hand. Dear Mother and Father, please join us at the Midtown General Gala to receive your inheritance from the Eleanor Vance estate. Formal documentation will be provided. Chloe. Dear Noah, your presence is requested regarding Caleb's patrimony and your parental status. Legal clarification will be provided. Chloe Miller Thorne. They'll think they've won, Marcus said, sealing the envelopes. Let them. Caleb reviewed his speech one more time. You want me to mention Grandma Eleanor but not them? Mention your real grandmother. The one who loved you. And when they stand up to claim credit, that's when Marcus presents the documents. We'd reserved a table front and center for them. Table 1. Impossible to miss, impossible to leave without everyone noticing. The hospital board will be there, Marcus noted. Miller Industries investors. Everyone they care about impressing. Good. I called the foundation coordinator. Yes, we're announcing the Eleanor Vance Foundation for Teen Mothers. $5 million initial funding. 10 medical school scholarships. Everything was in place. 20 years of pain transformed into purpose. What if they don't come? Caleb asked. They'll come. Their egos won't let them miss it. Marcus pulled up the RSVPs an hour later. All 3 had responded yes within minutes. They think they've won, he said. Perfect. The best defeats come when victory seems certain. The Midtown General Ballroom glittered with old money and new hope. Crystal chandeliers, white orchids on every table, and my parents at table 1, holding court like royalty. My mother wore vintage Chanel, the suit she'd saved for special victories. My father kept checking his luxury watch, probably calculating when to make their grand gesture. Noah sat beside them, fidgeting in a rented tux that didn't quite fit. Ladies and gentlemen, the MC announced, please welcome our keynote speaker, Dr. Caleb Miller. My son walked to the podium in scrubs. Not a tux, not a suit, but the uniform he'd earned saving lives. The audience murmured. My parents' smiles tightened. Good evening. I'm here to talk about family, Caleb began. Not the family you're born into, but the family that chooses you when you need them most. My mother preened, assuming he meant them. 20 years ago, a 17-year-old girl was thrown out of her home for getting pregnant. She slept in parks. She ate from vending machines. She had nothing except the life growing inside her. The room went silent. My father's hand froze on his champagne glass. Then Eleanor Vance found her. A widow with no obligation to help, no reason to care, except that she understood what family really meant. Eleanor became my grandmother. She gave my mother shelter, dignity, purpose. She gave me life. On the LED screen behind him, Eleanor's photo appeared, 20 feet tall, smiling, radiant. Everything I am, Caleb continued, I owe to two women. My mother, Chloe Miller Thorne, who sacrificed everything for me, and my grandmother, Eleanor Vance, who proved that love isn't about blood, it's about showing up. My parents were no longer smiling. Tonight, I'm announcing the Eleanor Vance Foundation for Teen Mothers, Caleb said, his voice carrying across 500 silent guests. $5 million in initial funding. Housing, childcare, education, and hope for young mothers abandoned by their families. The screen changed. Eleanor's video message began playing. Hello, my dear ones, Eleanor's voice filled the ballroom. If you're watching this, then my grandson Caleb is doing exactly what I knew he would, changing lives, healing hearts, being the man I always knew he'd become. My mother started to stand. My father grabbed her wrist, pulling her down. Family, Eleanor continued, isn't about DNA or last names or inheritance. It's about presence. When Chloe needed family most, where were the Millers? When Caleb took his first steps, spoke his first words, performed his first surgery, where were they? The camera panned across the crowd. Every eye was on table one. I leave everything to my real family, Eleanor said. To Chloe, my daughter by choice. To Caleb, my grandson by love. And to those who abandoned them, she looked directly into the camera, I leave you the truth about what you threw away. Caleb returned to the podium. I want to thank my family for being here tonight. Mom, he looked at me. And Marcus, who showed me what a father really is. My mother shot to her feet. Where are your grandparents? Where's your blood? The entire ballroom turned to stare. No, Caleb said calmly into the microphone. You're strangers who shared DNA. There's a difference. How dare you, my father started. Mr. Thorne, Caleb said, I believe you have some documents to present. Marcus stood, folder in hand, walking toward the podium with the measured steps of coming justice. This is ridiculous. My father charged toward the stage, his face purple with rage. We are his grandparents. We have rights. Security moved forward, but Marcus raised a hand. Let them come. My mother grabbed the microphone from a nearby table. This is our grandson. They've poisoned him against us. We made one mistake 20 years ago. One mistake. I stood, my voice carrying without amplification. You gave me 10 minutes to pack. You turned my portrait face down. You signed papers, disowning me and my unborn child. The crowd gasped. Phones appeared, recording everything. That was different. My mother shrieked. You were a disgrace. Pregnant at 17. I was your daughter. Noah tried to slip toward the exit. 2 security guards blocked his path. Mr. Reed, Marcus said into the podium microphone. Don't leave yet. This concerns you, too. I don't. I'm not, Noah stammered. You're not what? Marcus cut in. The biological father who abandoned a pregnant 17-year-old? Or the consultant being paid by the Millers to manipulate their daughter? My father lunged for the podium. You can't prove, actually, Marcus smiled, clicking a remote. I can. The screen lit up with emails. The conspiracy laid bare in 40-foot letters for 500 witnesses to read. 10% of assets recovered, Marcus read aloud. Push the right buttons about missed father-son moments. She always was emotional. My mother's designer suit couldn't hide her shaking. My father's Columbia pin couldn't restore his dignity. Noah looked like he might vomit on his rented shoes. Shall we discuss, Marcus continued, the legal documents you signed 20 years ago? The ones that permanently severed all rights to Chloe and her children? The ballroom held its breath. Marcus clicked again. The abandonment document filled the screen. Every word magnified, every signature clear as day. October 15, 2004, he read, "We, David and Susan Miller, hereby relinquish all parental rights and responsibilities to Chloe Miller and any children born or unborn." The document zoomed in on their signatures, bold, deliberate, undeniable. "This extends in perpetuity," Marcus continued. "Forever. Irreversible. You didn't just disown your pregnant daughter. You legally disowned every generation that would come from her." "We didn't know." My mother started. "You didn't know?" Marcus pulled up another document. "Mr. Miller, you have a Columbia law degree. You knew exactly what you were signing." My father's mouth opened and closed like a fish drowning in air. "But that's not all," Marcus said. "Let's discuss what happens when you abandon someone, then try to claim their inheritance." The crowd leaned forward. Even the waitstaff had stopped to watch. 20 years ago, you threw Chloe away. Eleanor Vance found her, loved her, raised her grandson as her own. And when Eleanor died, she left very specific instructions about blood relatives who abandoned family. "That money should be ours," my father shouted. "We're the biological grandparents who signed away all rights." "Look at the screen, Mr. Miller. Look at your signature. That's your handwriting saying Caleb doesn't exist to you." News Channel 12's camera captured everything. Sarah Kim held her microphone toward the stage, broadcasting live. "Every person in this room," Marcus said, "every camera, every phone, they're all witnessing the truth. You abandoned a pregnant teenager. You signed away your grandchild. And now you want to profit from his success." The disgust in the room was palpable. People actually turned their backs on Table 1. "Now," Marcus said, "let's discuss Eleanor Vance's will." The screen changed to official probate documents. Article 7, Section 4, any biological family member who previously abandoned, disowned, or rejected Chloe Miller or Caleb Miller shall be permanently excluded from all inheritance, property, or financial benefit from this estate. "She can't do that!" my mother screamed. "She can, and she did. The estate is worth $15 million. The restaurants, the properties, the investments, all of it goes to Chloe and Caleb. You, Mr. and Mrs. Miller, receive nothing." But more importantly, Marcus clicked again, showing a video timestamp. "Eleanor left you a personal message." Eleanor appeared on screen again, but this was different footage. She was looking directly at the camera, directly at my parents. "David and Susan Miller," Eleanor's voice rang out. "I know you're watching this, probably in a room full of people you're trying to impress. Good. Let them all hear this. You are the worst kind of cowards. You threw away a treasure because you feared judgment. I found that treasure. I polished it. I helped it shine." My mother collapsed into her chair. "You had 10 minutes to pack your daughter's life. So, I'm giving you the same, 10 minutes to leave this gala, leave this city, and leave Chloe and Caleb alone forever, starting now." Marcus looked at his watch. "That's 8:04 p.m. At 8:14, if you're still here, I've filed the restraining orders, the criminal harassment charges, everything." The ballroom was silent, except for the ticking of the massive clock. 9 minutes, Marcus announced. My parents looked at each other, then at the exits, then at the hundreds of phones recording their humiliation. "Mr. Reed," Marcus turned to Noah, who was trying to shrink into his rented tux. "Let's discuss your consulting agreement." The emails returned to the screen. Marcus read each one slowly, letting the words sink in. Chloe always was emotional. Push the right buttons. 500,000 upfront seems reasonable for my involvement. That's taken out of context, Noah stammered. Is it? Let's see the context. Marcus clicked through the entire chain. You approached the Millers. You offered to manipulate the mother of your child for money. You called your son an asset to be recovered. Caleb stepped back to the microphone. Mr. Reed, I want you to know something. I've known who you were since I was 15. I looked you up. I found your Yale graduation photos, your wedding announcement, the birth announcements for your other children, the ones you didn't abandon. Noah's face went white. I watched you build your life while my mother built hers alone. I saw your startup announcements, your Forbes mentions, your perfect family Christmas cards, and I felt nothing. You know why? Because Marcus Thorne taught me to play catch. Marcus came to every surgery observation. Marcus is my father in every way that matters. You're a sperm donor who's now bankrupt and desperate enough to sell access to the son you never wanted. The IRS already knows about your bankruptcy fraud, by the way. We forwarded them your emails about hiding assets. Someone in the crowd laughed. Then another. Soon, Noah was surrounded by derision from people who'd once respected the Reed name. 8 minutes remaining, Marcus announced. Mr. and Mrs. Miller. Mr. Reed. I suggest you leave now. My father stood, trying to salvage dignity from disaster. This isn't over. We'll sue. The ballroom doors opened. A process server walked in, followed by 2 police officers. David Miller, Susan Miller, Noah Reed. The server held up official documents. You're being served with emergency restraining orders. He handed them each a packet while 500 people watched. These are temporary orders, effective immediately. You are prohibited from coming within 500 feet of Chloe Miller Thorne, Caleb Miller, or Marcus Thorne. No contact through any medium. No calls, texts, emails, or third-party messages. The hearing for permanent orders is in 2 weeks. You planned this, my mother hissed at me. No, I said, standing. You planned this 20 years ago when you signed those papers. I'm just finishing what you started. The officer stepped forward. Folks, you need to leave the premises now, or you're violating the order. This is assault, my father shouted. This is consequence, the officer said calmly. Something I understand you're not familiar with. You have 5 minutes before we arrest you for violation. My mother grabbed her designer bag like a life preserver. You'll regret this, Chloe. The only thing I regret, I said loud enough for everyone to hear, is spending 17 years thinking I needed your love. They walked toward the exit, Noah trailing behind. At the door, my father turned one last time. That boy is our blood. Blood? Caleb called out. You bled my mother dry and left her for dead. Eleanor gave her a transfusion of real love. That's the only blood that matters here. The doors closed behind them. The entire ballroom erupted in applause. The applause died down as Caleb returned to the podium, this time with me beside him. Ladies and gentlemen, he said. Let me tell you what we're really here to celebrate. The screen showed a mock-up of a building, the Eleanor Vance Center for Young Mothers. $5 million in initial funding. 10 full medical school scholarships for children of teen mothers, housing for 20 families at a time, childcare during classes, job training, everything my mother needed 20 years ago and found in one extraordinary woman. I took the microphone. Every young mother who comes to us will get what I got from Eleanor. Not judgment, but support. Not shame, but dignity. Not abandonment, but family. The first scholarship recipient is here tonight, Caleb announced. Sofia Garcia, 17, graduating valedictorian while raising her daughter. Sofia, would you stand? A young woman rose, holding a baby, tears streaming down her face. The ovation was thunderous. Sofia will attend Columbia PMed this fall, full ride with on-site childcare, I said, because that's what Eleanor would have done. Marcus joined us on stage. We're also announcing that Miller Industries Board has voted to redirect their annual charitable giving. The $12 million they donated to this hospital over the years? It's being matched by an anonymous donor for the Eleanor Foundation. I knew that anonymous donor. It was the combined savings of every family Eleanor had helped over the years, paying it forward. In 1 year, Caleb said, we'll have helped 50 young mothers. In 10 years, 500. In 20 years, when some other scared 17-year-old gets pregnant, she won't sleep in a park. She'll call us. The standing ovation lasted 5 minutes. But the sweetest sound was the silence from Table 1, now empty forever. 3 weeks later, Marcus showed me the business news. Miller Industries stock dropped 30%, he said. The board called an emergency meeting. Your father was voted out as CEO. The scandal had spread beyond the city. Family values hypocrites ran in the Wall Street Journal. The 10-minute parents trended on social media for days. Someone leaked the security footage of them being escorted out. It had 12 million views. They're selling the house, Marcus continued, pulling up the real estate listing. The Riverbend estate, listed far below market value. They need the cash for legal fees. Their lawyer had tried to contest the restraining orders. The judge not only upheld them but made them permanent after seeing the evidence. What about Noah? Worse. His ex-wife's lawyer subpoenaed our emails. Turns out hiding money from bankruptcy court while owing $200,000 in child support is a federal crime. He's facing 3 years. I felt nothing. Not satisfaction, not pity, just nothing. They moved to Texas, Marcus added. Austin. Your mother's sister took them in. They're living in her guest house. From a 7-bedroom mansion to a guest house. From public disgrace to exile. The best part? Marcus smiled. Remember their church? The one where your father was an elder? They were asked to find a new place to worship. Apparently, abandoning pregnant teenagers doesn't align with their values. Every institution they'd valued more than me had rejected them. Are you okay? Marcus asked. I'm free, I said. For the first time in 20 years, I'm completely free. That night at dinner, Caleb said, the foundation received a donation today. Anonymous. $50,000. We all knew who it wasn't from. 6 months later, we gathered for our weekly dinner. The tradition Eleanor started, and we'd never stopped. Caleb carved the roast using the technique Eleanor taught him when he was 12. So, I saved 3 lives this week, he said casually, like discussing the weather. Show off, Marcus teased, pouring wine from Eleanor's collection. The youngest was 4 months old, Caleb continued. Her mother was 17. She reminded me of someone. He looked at me with those eyes that still saw wonder in the world despite everything. I told her about the foundation. She cried. Mom said she'd been sleeping in her car for a week. Not anymore, I said. She moves into the center tomorrow. This was our family. No DNA tests required, no blood certificates needed. Just presence, consistency, and choice. Eleanor's portrait hung where the TV used to be. We'd rather look at her than any screen. Fresh orchids sat beneath it, replaced weekly, her favorite. I'm getting married next month, I announced. Marcus nearly dropped his wine. You're supposed to let me propose first. Eleanor always said I should speak up for what I want. I pulled out the ring I'd bought him. So, Marcus Thorne, will you make this official? Caleb laughed, a real, full laugh like he did as a child. Mom, you just proposed at dinner over pot roast. Eleanor would approve, Marcus said, sliding the ring on. Yes, absolutely, yes. We toasted with Eleanor's crystal, the one she saved for celebrations. In the candlelight, I could almost see her smiling. This was family. Not perfect, not traditional, but real, chosen, permanent. And somewhere in Texas, in a guest house, two strangers I once called parents were learning what I'd known for 20 years. Some choices can't be undone, but better choices, those can be made every single day. It's wild how the past can loop back around, isn't it? What's one choice you made that changed everything?